The hobby is the people. Weekly news and interviews. It's your number one source. Sports Card Nation. The hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
Welcome to another stocked and loaded episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast, the show that brings you all the important hobby news, discussions, debates, opinions, info, and interviews with key hobby and sports dignitaries. Also, if you're good, you know we are going to give away something. Now, here's the guy that wanted the cards more than the gum. John Newman.
What is up? SCN episode 228. If you're listening to this on the day of release, Friday the 20th, I am actually, and if cross our fingers all went well and I landed safely, I am in Dallas, Texas today, and I'm actually hanging with my good friend who is today's guest on this show. Now, this conversation was recorded before I got on the plane and headed down to Dallas, but today's guest is Brad Bethune, Texas card dude, really fun guy and good dude, good dude, right? Texas card dude. But today's guest, and like I said, if all is well, I am in Dallas, Texas today. I'll be there through Sunday and come back to New York on Sunday night. Today, Friday, again, if you're listening to this on Friday release day, going to the Dallas Card Show with Brad and see a lot of other people we know and I know there. And tonight, Friday night, I'm going to check out the new Texas Rangers Stadium with Brad and Eric Norton from Fat Packs. Beckett Live presents to see the Rangers and the Houston Astros play tonight. No garbage cans allowed. I had to throw that in there, folks. Too easy. Boom. So it's going to be a fun trip this weekend. Again, a show Friday, Rangers Astros game Friday night. All day at the show Saturday. And we're going to do a live episode of Hobby Hotline. So if you're listening to this on show day, show release day for Sports Card Nation, tomorrow morning you'll get to see me and everyone else from almost everyone else from Hobby Hotline live from the Dallas show. Going to have a fun time Saturday. Hope to buy some stuff, and also at the end of the show, Dr. Beckett, Dr. James Beckett's been gracious enough to sort of hold a content creation dinner for some of the content creators, and he's going to record, I'm sure, some segments that you will probably hear on a future Sports Card Insights with Dr. Beckett. And he's done these kind of dinners and get-togethers before, in person and virtually, and it's going to be fun to get to meet him, get to meet some other people for the first time as well, and even do that segment, have dinner, and it's going to be a fun time. It's going to probably be the quickest 3.5 days ever, but it's going to be fun nonetheless. So you're going to hear, I'm going to talk to Brad on the show today, and we're going to allude to some of the stuff pertaining to this trip for me. So with that being said, let's get this thing started.
And here we go.
Time for this week's
Incoming!
product releases. All right, time for this week's releases. On the 21st, we have 2020-21 Topps Chrome Bundesliga Soccer. On the 26th, kind of have a 4 or 5 days off with nothing really coming out. One of my favorite brands that's coming back, and have to check out about getting some. 2021 Topps Sterling Baseball. That's on the 26th. Also on the 26th, 2020-21 Upper Deck SPX Hockey. Same day, 2020-21, Panini Court Kings basketball. Also on the 26th, 2021, Panini Absolute Baseball. 2021, Panini Legacy Football. And on the 27th, 2021, Onyx Vintage Baseball Collection. And we'll stop there. We have some 28th releases, but we'll save that for next week's show. As always, folks, remember, with the pandemic still ongoing, all dates subject to change. Products may be pushed back, or postponed for the moment, with production potentially being an issue. So there you go for this week's releases.
Sports Card Nation Podcast is your weekly hobby and sports podcast. Now on tons of platforms including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. Listened to in 44 different countries globally, Sports Card Nation is one of the most interactive podcasts around, providing great content, giveaways, and some of the hobby's best interview guests without time constraints. Thousands can't be wrong. We want to thank all the wonderful listeners around the world, our awesome guests on the show, and our tremendous sponsors making us what we are today. Remember, without you, there's no us.
It's time for the Hobby What's Up, where we go around the hobby world and tell you all the latest news and breaking stories from the hobby we love.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
All right, time to talk about the week that was in the hobby. Pretty quiet week in comparatively to previous weeks. Plus, we're with the longer interview, we'll keep this segment short and sweet. Unfortunately, Dr. Thomas Newman passed away in Florida. No relation. I almost wish I was related to him after you hear what I'm about to say. But Dr. Thomas Newman passed away, and he left a $20 million estimated value card collection, which is now headed to memory lane auctions for, obviously, auction. Some iconic cards in wonderful condition, and so the family's going to make out very well, as they should. And so for a chance to win, and bid and win some of these iconic cards, head over to memory lane auctions to see what's available and maybe take home one of those beauties. I know I reported on it last week. SGC is back down to the $30 level. Glad to hear it. Even cheaper if you go the bulk submission way. And right now, their turnaround times are lightning fast. I mean, not just fast, lightning fast. Some cases I'm seeing people report that their stuff is back within the same week. They send on like a Saturday, and by the following Saturday, they have their cards back. At most, 10 days. So, quickest I've ever seen, probably, other than you paying for like express, like 1 or 2 day turnaround at any company. This is the quickest I've ever seen them turn it around. And at $30 a card for that quick turnaround, that's impressive. I don't care any way you slice it. So kudos to SGC. Topps has a new sports and entertainment European division manager, and his name is Mark Catlin. He was the CEO of Portsmouth FC Soccer Club, a soccer club partly owned by Topps CEO Michael Eisner. So familiarity there, but this is a gentleman very familiar with the sports and entertainment side of the business, and so he's been tagged to lead Topps' overseas division, and he'll be starting on June 1st, and probably be very streamlined, being the familiarity with Michael Eisner. So again, a quiet week, but let's talk a little bit about the Dallas show, as you probably seen on social media if you follow me, or heard in the open. Headed down to Dallas if you're hearing the show on show release day, and everything's went well. I'm there, and we'll probably make appearances at the show Friday, Saturday, and probably early Sunday morning before heading back here to New York. On Saturday, Hobby Hotline, our conglomerate podcast with various hosts. Many other hosts are actually like me, flying into Texas for the show, and so Saturday morning we'll be doing a special edition of Hobby Hotline Live, 10 a.m. Texas time, with many of the Hobby Hotline hosts. Check that out. If you're not in Texas, online, or should be an interesting episode. There'll be some giveaways. I know Chris Chelios is one of those, and going to be a fun time. If you're there, come check us out as we're recording. Maybe we even get you on the program live. If you're at the show, come say hello. Would love to talk with everybody, which I always do at shows. I'm a gift of gab's never been an issue with me, so come up, say hello, and tell me what you like, dislike about the show. I really do take all that feedback into consideration, even when it's not in person, but would love to hear it in person, good, bad, and ugly. I'll probably be, to give you sort of an idea what to look for, I'll probably be wearing like a white pullover with a little black backpack. I'll be lugging around with my show logos on it. So come up, say hello, talk some hobby, tell you like the show, you dislike the show, what you like to see, what you don't like to see. Just ask me anything. I'm a pretty open book, and I'll answer any questions or talk about anything you want, even life. So I just enjoy that banter, talking with people. So hope to see you at the show, and let's continue. One of One Card Shop offers a tremendous breaking experience, great customer service, and they're constantly pulling fire. Steve and his family take care of you like one of their own and treat you right. Anyone can break, but no one treats you like One of One. Come check them out on Instagram at one_of_one_card_shop. For all the hot breaks, get a gold mailer headed your way.
I know the chunky that left these chunkies. Newman! Open the door, Newman. I know you're in there. Hello.
Sports Card Nation. All right, it's time for Newman's Rambling, where I select one question I get each week and answer it on the air.
John, you seem like an astute man.
Thank you, Mr. Walken.
Maybe you can help explain something to me.
Well, I'll give it my best shot. This week's question comes from Greg on Twitter, and he asks, "Hey, I dig the logo you had, but see you changed to a new one. What gives?" I like the old one, truth be told. I use sort of multiple logos. If you see what I post, I'll use different variations of the logo. But one of the reasons for the new logo is, I meant to actually do it sooner. I wanted to sort of kind of rebirth a new logo with us moving here to the Spreaker Prime iHeartRadio network with the move and more platforms. I wanted to just kind of make a new logo to signify sort of a new rebirth of the show on a different platform, moving from Anchor. And when I kind of knew what I wanted to do, and I told the graphic designer I wanted similar, with the tagline, "The Hobby's the People." Definitely didn't want to lose that. I wanted to keep that lettering, but I wanted Nation to be, in U.S. flag colors, just to set that off. And I wanted the eye. If you look at the eyes, it's real subtle. The eye is actually Yeti Mike, and so I wanted to kind of change it up. It's very similar, but with just different color patterns. It's got orange and blue. Orange and blue, just for those that don't know, is significant for me. It's my high school colors. It's Syracuse University's colors where I live, and it's also my favorite baseball team's colors with the New York Mets. And so there's little things in that logo that are significant. Maybe not, people don't know unless I tell them that, which I just did here in this segment for those that are hearing it. But, so I wanted, the old logo was kind of all green, and I don't even want to call it the old logo. You'll still see it used from time to time, but the previous logo was sort of all green. I wanted a little more color, a little more pop. I wanted those, U.S. red, white, and blue in the nation part, and sort of that inside stuff with that blue, what blue and orange mean to me, and then that microphone as that eye. So I hope those that have seen that, for what it's worth, like the new logo. I like it. I guess that's what really counts. But I hope everyone else does too. And every once in a while, maybe we'll do something, different. But I like this one. I don't see us changing now for a while. Like I said, main reason, to answer your question, I sort of was thinking about it already prior to the move from Anchor to Spreaker. And then with the move, it's a perfect time to do a new logo with the new platform. So there you go.
Tired of going to the retail store just to find empty shelves? The solution is Hotbox Cards. They offer a monthly subscription service at a great price level. Each box contains 3 sealed packs, 3 relic or autographed cards, and 50 cards featuring stars, rookies inserts, and parallels. 1 in 5 boxes have an envelope with a surprise card. They will honor expired redemptions with a comparable item. Check them out at www.hotboxcards.net.
Remember, June is Throwback Month at Hotbox Cards. And remember to use SC Nation, all in caps. That's SCNATION, all in caps, promo code for an extra hit in your subscription box.
Sports Card Nation, it's now time to chop it up with our featured guest on the one-of-one card shop guest line. Let's go!
Happy to be chatting with my next guest on the Sports Card Nation line here. It's someone I know very well, a very good friend of mine. And when you hear this interview / conversation, I'll actually be hanging out with him in person. So when this thing airs, if assuming everything goes right, let's cross our fingers. There is some airfare, planned. So, and I'm not driving that thing, so I got to have faith in the pilot. But assuming everything goes well, I'll be in the Texas area hanging with the Texas card dude, Brad Bethune. Brad, welcome to the show.
Sports Card Nation. The hobby is the people.
the hobby is the people, and I got a good people right here with you, Brad. And neither one of us will ever be mistaken for a singer. Some would argue about even being podcasters, but definitely not singers. So
we are
like I. I knew that was going to come out. All right, but all right, that's a little. That's an inside joke that most people won't get, but we'll have our own personal laugh right there. But like I said, I'm looking forward to coming down there and hanging with you and some other folks. And I've never been to Texas. Let's save that for now. And this show's you're the guest of honor. This is about you. You got into. You come back in the hobby. I'm going to save that story. And it's kind of the traditional one. And then, you got into content creation and you were doing Confessions of a Texas Card Dude. And now you do literally a daily show, a morning show on YouTube. Talk about, the difference between doing sort of a weekly podcast and a daily video log, if you will, and the differences and the difficulties.
Well, first, thanks. It's an honor and a privilege to be on the Sports Card Nation's podcast.
This is going to cost me a lot of money. I can tell already.
I gotta somehow pay for the beers at the ballpark. But no, I mean, when I first got back into the hobby, the first thing that I did was listen to a friend of ours, which is Mike Sommer, and through his great podcast, he and I got to talking and started listening to him and started thinking, hey, I was employed at the time. I was collecting Pete Alonso, Nick Solak, Sean Murphy, going back and getting, when you come back to the hobby, the typical things, you go back and get the stuff you couldn't afford, all that entailed. And when I heard Mike Summers' podcast, I was really looking for something that just time to fill. I had an hour ride back and forth, and I wanted to listen. Dallas sports at the same. Cowboys were awful. Rangers were awful. You could only listen to that for so long before you wanted to just beat your head up against the wall. So I found Mike, and I literally said to myself, if Mike Sommer can do this, you're a pretty smart guy. Why don't you give a try at buying and selling cards that you don't want for the cards that you want? So I started doing that. And then from there, I got introduced to Hobby Hotline 1.0. And late at night, one night, I just started watching Hobby Hotline. I think it was on episode 12 or 13 at the time, or 14. And I think within a 2 to 3 day span, I had just blasted through and caught up on Hobby Hotline. And at the time, I kind of just wanted to get into the hobby, learn more, try to learn as much as I could. And they said, I can't remember, I think it was you that said call in. And it was you and Drew and a couple other guys that were on there. And I'm like, okay, I'll call in. And my wife had come up with the name Texas Card Dude, which we can talk about a little bit later, because that was a whole process to come up with in my pea brain. But you can take credit. This is Texas Card Dude for coming up with Texas Card Dude. But I started calling in on Hobby Hotline and just getting to know everybody and just really starting to enjoy talking about the hobby and garnering my opinions and learning as much as I can. And that's when somebody mentioned to me on Twitter, one person said, hey, you should do your own podcast. I'm like, And then another person said it. And then another person said it. And then before I started my podcast, I had 20 people tell me that I needed to do a podcast. Once is okay. 2 to 3 times is wow. When you get up to that many people, there's an influence there, and there's a need out there. So I started Texas, Confessions of a Texas Card Dude. And at first I loved it. I truly, absolutely loved it. It was just a labor of love. It was me pouring myself out and my journey and just the way that I wanted to teach. I wanted to teach. So fast forward, pandemic hit, Christmas, a week before, December 18th, 2020, I lost my job. I got let go, and I was sitting in the hot tub. And by this time, you and I had multiple long conversations. I had considered you a mentor, not yet a friend. And I really just started absorbing as much information that I could about content creation. I had become on Hobby Hotline. I'd become a guest and honored to become a guest host. And I was just growing. When I lost my job, I was sitting in the hot tub with a Captain Morgan and Sprite, a fresh one, thinking, what in the world am I going to do with myself at 48 years old? And do I start from the bottom again? Do I start from where it's from grassroots, what do I do? Do I change verticals? And Mrs. Texas Card Dude came out and said, hey, why don't you try to buy and sell baseball cards and full time in the hobby? And I go, really? Like Scooby-Doo. I went, and she said, yeah. And I go, well, what do you mean? She goes, that's exactly what. So I said, well, I have to think about it. I have to pray on it. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a big man of faith. Believe Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. Got saved 2.5 years ago. It's a big part of my channel. It's a big part of who I am. And I prayed about it for a week and a half. And right before, I think it was a couple days before New Year's Day, and you and I had talked about this beforehand, and I talked to a couple of other people about it and just really noodled on it. A couple of people that I know that are entrepreneurs. And I think it was like December 30th. I'm like, I'm in. I mean, I got to go full time in the hobby. So I went full time in the hobby, buying and selling and a little bit of collection on the collecting. And, man, when I was doing buying and selling and trying to I was still doing the podcast. Podcasting it's a lot of work. It is a grind, and it is a true labor of love. And anybody that puts out a podcast, I feel you, man. I've done those late nights. I've done those, and it's just, it was too much. I couldn't commit that much time to doing podcasting and trying to provide a full-time thing for my family, because I don't work 8 to 5. I was working before you and I was working. I do generate content. I work almost, oh my gosh, 12, 14 hours a day, 15 hours a day sometimes. And we sleep as much as we possibly can. So my days are long. And I was watching 1 Million Cubs, Bo, a good friend of ours. And Bo talked about doing a daily show, and I noodled on it. I prayed about it. And then all of a sudden I started up my daily show. And what I found was it's more interactive, and I put on a lot more content in a lot less time. And it, like you said in last week's episode, it forces you to keep up with the daily activity in the hobby. So you're always learning, you're always teaching, you're always up to date. You're always like tomorrow's hobby hotline. There's a whole slew of stuff that we will have learned throughout the week so that we could jump on. So it's staying sharp in the hobby, staying sharp with what's hot. And then you don't just think you know it. You have to regurgitate it. You have to do it live, and you have to do it on key, and you have to be on, and you have to have showmanship, and you have to have personality, and you got to all that entails. But for me, dude, I just be a ham. I just get in front of a microphone, put me in front of a microphone and a camera, and I turn into a ham.
Well, that's true, because you just set a record on Sports Card Nation. That is the longest stretch of time on this show that I've not said anything. And
well, see, that's my goal for the show, is for me to talk more than you.
you just set the record, but so you're the title holder, you're holding the belt. But like you said, at one point I want to piggyback off of what you said, Brad, is people don't do podcasts, and this isn't me patting all of us on the back. But those of us that do content creation, whether you do a daily show or a weekly show or bi-weekly or whatever format, it's a lot of work. What you might hear an hour and a half of actual produced audio, but there's hours that go into getting that an hour and a half. I'll use I'll use an orange juice analogy. Can't talk tonight. But you pick up that quart of orange juice out of the fridge in your supermarket, and you don't realize probably 200 oranges had to be squeezed just to get that much juice out of it. And that's kind of how content creation is, between editing and the time, and even for Sports Card Nation, we average about an hour and 20, hour and 30 minutes, but it takes me about 4 or 5 hours a week to do that. And, I do the other show, Hobby Quick Hits. Now that full disclosure, and I'm a very honest and transparent person, that's a 15, 20-minute show. I write some notes down and boom, I record that. There's really no editing. It's just me hitting, play and pushing it out there. And so that's that is easier than Sports Card Nation. But, with some of the long form stuff, it is a lot that goes into it. As you just said, it has to be a labor of love. The minute it just becomes a labor, that's probably when it's time to pivot and maybe do something else. And
for me, it was you're putting in 4 for an hour and a half. I was putting in 8 for a 30-minute show, and I couldn't do it. And for the morning show, I spend an hour while listening to either Bo or Michael in the morning, and I'm talking with them, and I'm going through Google Alerts, and I'm going through what's going on in the hobby, and I may put down, I don't know, a page of notes, and then when I go live, it's looking at my notes, and sometimes I read my notes because of the boxes and configurations get complicated, but the rest of it, it's just me being a ham and having fun, because if I can't have fun at it, I can't do it.
Here's the beauty in that, Brad, and you know this. I don't have to tell you this, but for everyone else listening, the beauty of you call it being a ham, but you're being yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're being funny, ham, but you're being yourself, and when you're yourself, there's no shtick. You don't have to worry about acting, because you're not acting. You're just being who you are, and I think that's, people see that stuff. I think people know when someone's sort of going through the motions or being genuine. And if you're genuine and you be yourself, I think most people who gather that and figure it out appreciate that fact. If we want shtick or we want sort of actors and actresses, there's plenty of stuff on TV we can get that need filled. And I think when it comes to content creation, I think people appreciate, at least I don't want to speak for everyone, but I believe people appreciate people just being who they are, being genuine. And we're all different. So when you're genuine, my genuine and your genuine are going to be, we have different personalities. While we might have some common threads, we're still different folks. And I think it just keeps everything original, and you can't go wrong, when you're yourself. So
that was one of the things you definitely pressed upon me during one of our 3.5-hour conversations late at night was be yourself. And that was the hardest thing when I first started to remember. It was because I wanted to be, there's a side of my personality that my wife likes to call the Brad. And the Brad is when I come into a room, and if you think I'm boisterous and loud now, and I'm just a ham in a show, this personality that I have is over the top. It is big. It is bold. It is boisterous. It is 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And I developed that because, those of you know, I'm 5'2". I'm not a huge guy. So I had to develop that big, huge, bold personality to kind of stand out in a room. Well, over time, I just it's an act. So be who I am, and I like it better. It's a lot more fun. I don't care what other people think. I'm going to do me. Do you, boo. Come on, say it.
Have it your way, baby. But you know what? You're right. You're exactly right. Going to step aside for a quick break to hear from one of our great sponsors, Moco Sports Card Shop. But we'll be right back with more with Brad.
The Sports Card Shop at MoCo is your small-town local shop with a global reach. Conveniently located in New Buffalo, Michigan. We're an easy drive for most residents in Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio. Come see us every Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 5 and Sundays from 12 to 5. Want to shop from the comfort of your home? Give us a call at 269-469-0140 or visit our website at thesportscardshop@moco.com or our Facebook page. Major credit cards and PayPal accepted, and we ship anywhere in the world. We're an authorized dealer for both Panini and Topps, with new sealed wax from both arriving weekly. And yes, we have PSA and SGC graded cards and over 250,000 singles in stock. Be sure to follow us and turn on notifications for posts to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter so you don't miss out on new arrivals. The Gocher family has been serving this community for over a decade, so stop by or visit us at thesportscardshop@moco.com.
Sports Card Nation is back with Brad Bethune. I think that comes, and I don't want to get too off hobby here, but this plays into it. When we're younger, and we're about the same age, when we're younger, and I think this goes for most folks in general. When you're younger, you want everyone to like you. You want to be popular. You want to impress people. And so you sort of do things maybe that's not really who you are. You kind of, there's a little posturing or posing, if you will. And then the older you get, at least in my case, you realize that's not the way to go about it. And you start realizing hey, I'm going to be who I am, and someone's either going to like me or they're not going to like me. And I can't control. I ultimately really can't control that. That's going to be up to the individual person. I'm going to try to do things where I'll make that decision difficult not to like me, at least I hope. And, some people, I'm not a psychology guy, crazy psychology guy, but I read some things and just from work and stuff, people will judge someone just by looking at them before you even speak. And so if someone does that, there's nothing you really can do too much about that. They've got their mind made up. But it's that other segment of folks that really are open-minded and, hey, what is this person about? What's their makeup? What kind of person? Are they a good person? Are they a sincere person? Are they an honest person? Are they being themselves or is it an act? And those are the people that I care what they think about. The people that sort of make up their mind before even hearing you out. I don't lose too much sleep on anymore. And the older, for speaking for me, Brad, the older I get, the less, and I don't want to sound insensitive. I care about people. I'm a people person. My real job is working with people, doing content creation. You're speaking to people. So I don't want to sound like I don't care. But the older I get, the less I care about what people think. And I'll clarify that a little bit, is I'm going to do good things for people. I'll give away stuff. I'll be honest with people. I'll talk to someone for 3.5 hours and go to bed late and be tired the next day. Hint, hint.
Me too.
And if that's, if that it makes someone like me, then great. And if not, it is what it is. And I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I learned early on from the coaching aspect, which I coach varsity sports, as you know. I learned fairly quickly that no matter how successful you are on the field, that every parent's not going to love you. Every student athlete is not going to love you, because it may be as simple as, hey, I'm not playing as much as Bobby is, and so coach don't know what he's doing. Meanwhile, we haven't lost the game, right? Parents may not like you because their son is not a starter, and it doesn't matter what your record is. And so I learned early on, you can't win the whole room. It's really impossible. I didn't know that at first. I learned that by trial and error, and I sort of bring that sports stuff with me to the hobby side and the content creation side. Not everyone's going to like the show, and so I need to focus on just doing the best show I can, and for those that do like the show. And maybe someone who don't like the show, they can change their mind, and that could work both ways too. Someone who likes the show says, "Hey, I don't like it anymore," and you just do the best you can and let sort of the chips fall where they may. And it's a good thing. Now I want to touch on something else because I think it's very important, and it's you mentioned going full time in the hobby. Now I did that many moons ago from 1992 to 1997 as an LCS owner back in the heyday, if you will. And I got to think, it's got to be a scary thing. Like for me to do that, even today, and I'm not going to lie, I the last couple of years especially, sales have been, as you know, I mean, the hobby's booming right now. It's crazy, but it's still got to be a scary thing. If I was to just not go to work on Monday and quit, not show up, and just say, hey, I'm going to do, pay my bills and everything else that I have just on sports cards and content creation, I would be, could I do it? I don't know. I'd like to think I could, but it's a leap of faith. It's scary, and touch on, like you said, you prayed on, and I'm a person of faith as well. For those out there listening, did you play tug of war in your mind, and what won out? Like what was it that you said, hey, I can do this?
So let me first say, what going full time in the hobby is not for everybody. So it's not ingrained in everybody's personality. What some people have to realize is that I've spent 17 years in my world, in my nature, in sales, territory development, opportunity development, in lead generation, in content creation. I have that background in me. So my father's an entrepreneur. My brother's an entrepreneur. So the elements are, I've been around since probably I was 9, maybe 8 years old. So it's not just jumping into the hobby. I'm taking the skills that I've spent the last 17 years doing and just applying it to the industry. I'm going to call it the industry or the hobby that everybody loves. And if it wasn't for the fact that my wife mentioned it first, if it wasn't for the fact that I prayed on it, if it wasn't for the fact, and it was the point where I said, I can take the principles that I've spent the last 17 years on and apply them and pay myself. And I get to touch baseball cards all day or football cards. And my job is to watch sports and to create content, talk baseball and football and hobby all day long. When I did that realization after that analysis, I was all in. Now, let me also say, in the Texas Card Dude household, we live within a very small means. We've done a really good job being very close to debt free, except for the house. Cars are paid off. My wife's education's paid off. We have very little debt. So that we followed a very deep principle of saving and making sure that we put ourselves in the right financial place to be able to take this leap. So the bills are paid. There's residual there that I don't have to worry about. So I'm in a very, very fortunate situation. And then we sat down and on the you'll see my if you watch my daily show, you'll see my whiteboard. You'll see that there's pros and cons of every action that I take. There's praying, there's noodling to make sure. And just recently, I completely rechanged my train of thought of growing slow, and I'm about to expand exponentially here within actually. After you leave, once you leave on the plane on Sunday, I'm going to execute this master plan, so to speak, to increase my sales and have more fun and take advantage of some of the stuff that's going on in the hobby, and using, again, my past experience in being a sales rep and territory development. So that's where it wasn't an easy decision. It wasn't a decision we did lightly. We sat through, and I contribute to the household every month. I pay bills. It's not like the Texas Card Dude isn't profitable. It's profitable. It brings money in. So, but it was the point when I realized wife was all for it. God was all for it. And I could take the skills that I had and just apply them into the industry and hobby. And that's what I do every single day.
And let's give a shout out to Mrs. Texas Card Dude, as someone who's been married 21 years myself, with a supportive wife. Now, my wife, I don't know how Kim is. My wife doesn't know much about cards, other than there's some of them are worth some money and some of them aren't. But, like I've said many times on this show, she's given me the freedoms from day one to really she's never cramped my style. She's never given me an ultimatum. Hey, you need to stop doing this or stop doing that. And, basically the rule here is, as long as it doesn't ruin any plans we have made, then do what you need to do, have fun, enjoy life. And that's a two-way street too. I want to make that very, known. If my wife, wants to do something and we don't have plans, then just give me a heads up. That's what you're doing tomorrow or the next day or the next week or the next month. And, we have a calendar, a dry erase calendar. And, if I have an interview, I write it up there. If I have plans, if I'm on Hobby Hot, if that's my turn on Hobby Hotline that month, I write it on the calendar ahead of time. And that way everyone here knows, hey, dad or husband's going to be doing this at this time. And, you won't be available for other things at that point. And so we've always had sort of that, I don't even want to call it an agreement. Like it was never really discussed. There's no contract or anything like that. It was discussed. We basically said, hey, as long as it don't interrupt anything that we've already made plans for, then just communicate what we're doing and go do it and get it done, right? And it sounds like you have a very similar sort of thing there, and that's to a husband and to a dad, that's so crucial when you can have that a spouse that supports you and supports what you want to do. And even if they don't know a lot about it too, that's another thing that you got to mention, to support someone and not know the ins and outs and all the nooks and crannies of it. So shout out to wives, not just our two, but,
yes,
or spouses. I don't want, that allow folks to do
tolerate
things. Yeah. things we enjoy. And that's important. It's probably been a huge difference maker for what you're doing. Definitely for me here. And, I think I speak for both of us to say we're blessed sort of to be able to say that. And I think there's other situations where someone may not be as fortunate, let's just say. Yeah. And, it makes something that's already kind of difficult in its own regard even more so. And,
let me just say, it's not just 100%, whatever I say goes or whatever she says goes. Like I was doing a particular route and I got frustrated with it. It wasn't bringing me the satisfaction of a sales rep that I had this burning fire inside of me. So I rebuilt basically a sales business plan. And then I said, Mrs. Texas Card Dude, what do you think? And you'd have thought I'd gone on Shark Tank, because one of the things that my wife is amazing at is she was an admin for years, and lovingly, she made 100% sure that I knew what my ducks were in a row. And if I could answer all the questions, if I had seriously thought it through and I bounced ideas off of her, go ahead. And she's a counterbalance to me that I'm extremely blessed to have. Don't think that I had to go ask permission or I had to go ask for, can I go do that? No, it's, honey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? Because we're a partnership. We're in this together. And I play around a lot on Hobby Hotline. I play around on my show a lot. I give her a lot of grief, and she behind the scenes gives me a ton of grief. So it goes both ways. But in the end, it's both a partnership, and I can't do what I need to do to grow unless she's 100% in. And if she's not hashtag all in, then you can't. I mean, I won't do it out of respect, and I shouldn't do it out of respect as a man of God. So that and $3 to get everybody a Coke. I got too serious there for a second.
All right, a quick word from one of our national sponsors, but when we come back, more with the Texas Card Dude. Sports Card Nation is back with Brad Bethune.
Well, let's get a little less serious. It is serious business. As I said in sort of the opening, I'm going to be if someone's listening to this on show release day, I am in the state of Texas for the first time, hanging with none other than you, and we're going to have some fun. Friday night, we're going to be at the new ballpark in Arlington. What do they call it? The barn there, and
it's lovingly called the barn because it looks like a barn. It's Globe Life Park, if I remember right. Yep. So we had Globe Life Field, the new one's Globe Life Park, whatever. Everybody calls it the barn.
Yeah. So it'll be you, myself, and Fat Packs. Beckett Live presents Eric Norton. Seeing the Rangers. Seeing the Rangers and the Astros taking on each other.
Say it right. No, so you got to say it right. It's the Rangers and the Trash Rose, okay? Say it right.
Well, listen, I would probably try to take a garbage can on the plane with me, but they would probably not. They probably they won't let me fly it in. So, but it's going to be interesting. Speaking of seeing a live sport or event, during a pandemic, in Texas, there's no restrictions at this point, and it's going to. I'm gonna assume there's going to be between 20 and 30,000 people in that stadium. That's what they've been sort of getting, from what I could tell now, and it'll be my first sporting event attendance since the pandemic hit. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing this new stadium. I'm looking forward to having fun with my friends Brad and Eric, obviously. And never been to Texas. We're doing that on Friday. I don't know where all this energy is gonna come from. I think there might be some Red Bulls and something. Yeah, some Monsters and Red Bulls. Yeah, they used to sponsor the show back in the early days of the show, but some Red Bulls or Monsters, and then Saturday, we got the big Texas, the Dallas Card Show, and we're gonna be doing a Hobby Hotline for those listening. If you're listening to this the day of release, tomorrow Hobby Hotline is going to be live on site of the Dallas Card Show with probably 70% of the cast, if you will, of that show on scene in Dallas, and that'll be pretty cool to do. I'm looking forward to, besides the show and meeting a lot of the people in person that I haven't met in person yet. Buying some stuff. I want to buy some stuff. I want to look through them dollar boxes and steal some cards from Uncle Rich Klein. And all that.
A good answer.
Really, I mean, this show was big. It's sort of become the de facto national with the national being canceled last year. This year's starting to look like more promising, but still up in the air, not set in stone. And so one of the reasons I'm even making the trip, besides wanting to see good friends and hang with yourself and others, is because when I decided to do this, I think it was you that said, "Hey man, come on down if you can." And I'm like, I don't know if the Chicago deal is actually going to happen. So let's sort of replace that in case, let's do this instead. And so that's where this trip, talk about, you've been to this show already. This is not like the first time that it's happening. So talk a little bit, for those around the country that unfortunately are not up to full speed and their shows here in New York, we don't have shows right now. Even though a lot of the restrictions are actually lifted now, we just haven't had any shows at the moment. I think that will be soon. We're going to have some concerts here soon here in Central New York. But talk about that Texas show, that Dallas show, and what it's like for those maybe who won't be as fortunate to maybe go. Kind of paint that picture for them.
All right, folks, hanker down because, I'm used to doing the show by myself. This is going to be another long monologue.
Well, keep it. Don't go too long.
So first, just remember, John, you may not know, when you listen to the podcast, so it will have been a week and 3 days when the CDC came out and said, if you're vaccinated, no masks outside. You don't have to do masks outside or inside. So that's a very key factor to the story that I'm about to tell. I'm vaccinated. You're vaccinated. You got vaccinated so that you could come down. Now, about 4 hours after that CDC edict came down, the Rangers AAA farm system said, and it's an outdoor stadium, they said no masks, which everybody in Dallas Fort Worth went, really? And today they announced Frisco and the Rangers, no masks needed. So when we go to the stadium, you do not have to wear a mask to go to the stadium, which is going to be very weird, uncomfortable, and interesting all at the same time, because you've got all these people in this stadium that, do I wear a mask? Do I not wear a mask? What are we supposed to be doing in this brand new, gorgeous ballpark? So that's one thing that's going to happen. Then move over into Kyle's show. Now, Kyle's show originally started out as a twice-a-month show. He did a smaller 50-table, if I remember right, show, and then he had a 100-table show. Then the pandemic hit, and everybody went dark. And then when Kyle came back, he did, I think it was a 200-table show. And then the next month he did a 300-table show. Then the next month he did a 400-table show. Last month he did a 600-plus table show. And then he told everybody, well, I'm going to have to scale back. The venue doesn't have enough space. And he said it was going to be about 450. He then released that this is going to be a 500-plus table show. So holy cow, strap yourselves in there, bat friends, because this is going to be completely different. I thought he was going to have just one room. So he's going to have one great big huge room with maybe one or two other rooms, one specifically for autograph area, another room specifically for JSA, and then across last time he had a separate room for pop culture. And then another room was Rich Klein and another subset of kind of vintage area. And then he had a huge area with like 400 tables. And when I first walked in, I was completely overwhelmed. So it took me like 30 to 45 minutes just to kind of go, oh my gosh, what is this? And just, I had to walk around a couple of times, get used to that many people. Because at the time, people were wearing masks, and then you had some vendors where they'd been there all day with distance. They kind of take the mask off, and you're like, you have your mask off, dude. What are you doing? And then you saw there was nobody around them, so you kind of calmed down a little bit. Then It was nice. It was nice. But the types of stuff that was there was across the gamut. There were breakers. There was vintage. There was sports memorabilia. There's memorabilia for artifacts. There's non-breakers. There's live breaks going on. There's autographs going on. Anything that you could possibly. There's people that are there doing subgrading. Sorry, my mind just started to take off 1 billion miles an hour, and everything that you could possibly want at a show is pretty much there. Anything that you're looking for, you could probably find it if you dug hard enough. There's 3 or 4 core guys that have the quarter, dime, nickel, dollar, $5, and you got to be quick because, man, if you see Dr. Beckett sitting down at a table, he's already gone through 3/4 of them. The dude's a machine when he's looking at, and don't try to talk to him either because he's like, he's just intense. Wow. And then when you get he and Uncle Rich together, they're like 2 Furbies sitting there talking back and forth, and they can play off one. And it's like, it's really, really, I sat next to Dr. Beckett one month and just kind of, I couldn't even concentrate on what I was doing because, number one, I was sitting next to Dr. Beckett. And number two, just watching him machine, you were like in awe of like watching him do this and the knowledge and all that entailed. And then there's the people that were just fantastic. All the friends and all the people that I talked to, they were there. And it was fantastic. It was fantastic. It was awesome. And I expect the exact same thing.
Yeah. And one thing, obviously no one wanted this pandemic to happen. We all wanted to go away as quick as it sort of showed up, or at least it felt like it did. But, I know it's the tagline sort of it, we're all in this together, but I think there is that sense of, the sports card hobby already is a community. And then with the pandemic, I think you got that added sense, hey, we're all in this together. Let's kind of do the right thing, but let's keep going too. Let's enjoy, the card show if we can pull it off and follow what the mandates, whatever state you happen to be in. We're talking about Texas here. Let's do the right things, follow protocols, and still keep going and still get to be in the room together. And you have that sort of camaraderie, that community, and all the way, you mentioned from, all the way a hobby icon like Dr. Beckett to a kid that's at that show. We're all in the same room. We're all enjoying the hobby. Like I say many times, even on this show, and whether you're a hobby icon or a young kid collector, we're all in this hobby just the same. There's no pension plan per se, not that I'm aware of. I definitely will be trying to get that benefit if it does become available as an old guy that's been in it a long time. But, that's the beauty. One of the beauty things of the hobby is that it doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter how long you've been in it already, whether you're new or you've done it for 30 some years. We're still in it at the same time. And then when you're dealing with the pandemic, I think that sense of community even gets closer because that it's difficult. And so the fact that we can still get to enjoy it in a public setting, we can all enjoy it in our own house behind closed doors with a computer, with electronic devices. But to actually, like I said, many states here in New York included, we do not have shows. And so to still shows will always have a special place in my heart. As you know, Brad, I did my first one as a dealer at the ripe age of 15 years old.
You old man, you.
Yeah, I am. Just my name is Newman. I'm actually an old man. Just my last name is Newman. But there's something to be said. I've said this many times. Some people listen probably like, we heard this, John, but it's true, and I feel passionate about it. Anyone can buy a card online from eBay or another selling platform. You go to your mailbox, and that's fun, and you get that adrenaline rush. I get it too. I get it. But there's something to be said about being in a room at a card show, all these display cases with fellow hobbyists, have those conversations between hobbyists, between yourself and the dealers, to have those cards in your hand with that decision. I want this card. Do I buy it? I want to offer him this, see if he'll take it. All those great fun parts of a show that some states right now, us in New York here being included in that, right now aren't able to enjoy right now. And so the fact that you have it, I'm going to get to partake in it this Saturday, is going to be fun. And, you've really got to appreciate that stuff. And I think people do when they're doing it. And I think that really furthers that sense of community. Not that we, again, kind of bringing us full circle, not that we wanted this pandemic to occur. No one that I'm going to know of ordered this, wants it, but it's what we have to deal with. But I also think it's really kind of strengthened the sense of community, especially in the card hobby, and especially in states, Texas being one, where you are able to attend the show. I think people sort of you look at each other, it's kind of like that head nod, I imagine, like, hey, what's up, man? How are you? Type of deal. And so I'm looking forward to it. I'm trying to think. I haven't been to a card show, just like I haven't been to a sporting event since the pandemic hit. People don't. We're over a year into this COVID-19, and for me, not going to a card show or a sporting event in over a year is a long time, because I am a huge sports guy. I'm a huge card show guy as a dealer and a buyer. So the fact that I've done neither in a year, to me, it's only been a little over a year. It feels like 10 years.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because I'm so involved in the hobby. So this is going to be just fun for me, and to meet people who I appreciate and admire and consider friends. Some for the first time in person, some that I've met in person already. But to see them again is going to be fun. For those listening to this podcast on Friday, and you're going to the Dallas show, whether you're from Texas or you're coming in from a number, come say hello. If you know anything about me, I like to talk.
Really?
This guy. Yes. Well, listen, the pot kettle black.
Take the show over just to aggravate you.
Same thing with Brad. Come say hi to us. Ask us any questions. Let's talk the hobby. Tell me, man, you're even uglier in person than you are.
Yeah, or you're shorter than you say you
on
are.
YouTube, and so and it is true. So just be wary, But it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it, from the baseball game to attending the show to doing Hobby Hotline live, and then the dinner with Dr. Beckett at the end of Saturday night as well with the content creators. Man, it's going to be the quickest 3 days probably in my life, and then it's back on the plane on Sunday. And, I won't mention on the air just to protect his privacy. We're going to go to another fellow hobbyist and content creator's house on Sunday morning and check out his collection. I will say this: he's pretty big on YouTube and has one heck of a collection. And to see it in person, he better keep an eye on his 48 Leaf Jackie Robinson. Although if it's missing, I think he'll probably know who took it. So he's been gracious enough to invite us Sunday morning to hang with him. Yes. And it'll be really the last hobby thing I do before heading back here to New York, and no shows, at least for the moment. And it's gonna be great. I'm looking forward to it. And, I like I said, there's probably gonna be some Monster energies intermingled in there to keep it going. And I don't know what kind of shape I'm gonna be in on that Monday, but maybe a zombie like state. Yeah, I might go full. I might go full time in a hobby just by I have to, because I'm gonna get in trouble for like he's not even here. He's like he's sleeping at work in front of his class.
Quick break to hear from another one of our great sponsors, Pastime Marketplace, making the best cases in the hobby for your card needs.
Pastime Marketplace has a line of graded card cases that are waterproof, airtight, dust-tight, and hardened to protect and organize your valuable collection. Each of our cases come with pre-cut and pre-formed foam, so you don't have to cut and tear the foam when you get your case. The pre-cut foam inserts are sized to hold PSA, Beckett, SGC, and CGS slabs. Store it all safely and securely with a case from Pastime Marketplace. Check them out at www.pastimemarketplace.com.
Sports Card Nation is back with Brad Bethune.
I'll tell you a quick story that I mean, those of you who know me personally and know like me outside of the hobby, I'm a pretty shy guy. If you put me in a large room and say go talk to somebody, I won't do it. If like
now, don't you realize though, Brad? Don't you, not to cut you off, but I got to interject here. Don't you realize, like, when you're doing like a hobby hotline or even your own show, you really don't know, like, you know, there's it could be a lot of people watching.
No, nobody watches me. Nobody watches.
Well, listen, even if they're not watching at, you know, when you think all at the same time, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm believe it or not, I'm fairly shy to an extent, but you know, the older I get, I think the less, you know, it's that whole, I care less about what we already talked about, but go ahead.
So, it goes to, again, my story. If you put me into a large room at a show, I have a hard time. Like it takes me a while to get comfortable. The last show that I was at, I'm done for the Sunday. I'm exhausted. I've been at Rich's booth, working his booth and helping him out for half the day. Then I've been running around. I'm sweaty. I've got I probably had somewhere around 10,000 cards in my arms. I got backpack on. I've got not monster boxes, but 9,000 or 900 count boxes, 5 or 6 of them in each arm. I'm walking out to the car and I'm just sitting there going, oh man, I'm so drained. And then out of nowhere, I hear Texas Card Dude. Somebody knows me. So it was a guy.
But the only problem is someone yelled out Texas Card Dude and you're in Texas and like everybody turned around. Like if someone says New York Card Dude, like I might be the only one that looks.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But it was a gentleman who watched his Hobby Hotline, who had watched me on my YouTube show, who just enjoyed the content and enjoyed the stuff. And we literally spent 30 minutes just talking about how much he appreciated everything that I did. It made my heart feel warm to know that I affected his day and I affected his life and that I'm helping people. Honestly, that is why I do content creation. It is the community. It is the helping. It is the and I say this on every single show. If you need a prayer request, if you need help, if you need something, if you need advice, there's 3 or 4 guys that I'm constantly on Twitter talking to all day long. And it's that community that really, at the end of the day, when I shut the computer off and I go watch like 10 minutes of TV before I go lay down, that community is what keeps me going every single morning, because man, the hobby is the people, and it's amazing. The community that I found and I called it at first a tribe, and I didn't, Dr. Beckett didn't care for that. He gave me great advice on it. And I got rid of that phrase because community is more of a sense of family. And that's what the random acts of kindness that I've received, that you've received, John, that I've given, that you've given, that we know that is given out. The the young man that's struggling right now, just a hobby outpouring to him, the gentleman who's lost his family. It's that reaching out. It is that community and that love that's special. You don't have it very often. You don't find it very often. And when you find it, man, you got to grab hold of it, and you got to participate in it, and you got to join in, man. And I think this is one of the things that I really, really stress on Hobby Hotline is don't ever let anybody steal your light. Don't let anybody ever tell you are doing the hobby wrong. And that's why I say you do you, boo. If it's the way that you want to enjoy this hobby, you do it and tout it. And who cares what I think, what John thinks, what Lefty thinks, what Righty thinks, what Uppy, what Downy. Who cares? If it makes you happy, if you're enjoying the hobby and you're doing it legally, above board, you're not stealing anything, you're not breaking the law, the actual law. There's God's law, number one, and then there's the law of the United States of America. If you're not breaking into one of those two, I don't care. Yep. You do you, boo. And a sense of a community that's been poured out in this hobby, it's special, man. It's special. Yep. It's awesome. Yep. It's special.
Well said, Brad, and I concur 100%. And I know you've gotten them. I've gotten them. Those messages from people, like you said. You just told the story where someone tracked you down at that show and said, "Hey, man, thanks for doing." I get those, and it, like you said, if you affect even one person, and we know it's more than one. Yeah, it's worth it, even just the one. And just think, if one person's actually telling you that you're having sort of that positive effect, there's probably a lot of other people it's having the same effect. They just, some people can, are more email writers or more in person. Hey, thank you for doing what you're doing. And some others feel that way, and they just kind of, just keep it contained. And so the fact that you're hearing it from 1, 2, 5, 10, there's more that you're not hearing it from. And even if it was one, let's just say it's one. That's one more than there isn't. And that's, when I get those, man, and I know you feel the same way. We're both persons of faith. That is worth, like, that just warms my heart right up in my chest. And, I don't share, it's funny, man. I don't share, honestly, a ton of stuff like content creation or show wise with my wife. Not that she doesn't care, but she doesn't, when I'm talking about cards, she doesn't really know the hobby game, so to speak. But when I get those emails or DMs, or personal interactions, those are the ones where I tell my wife, like, hey, I got this, read this. And even she says, wow, it sort of surprises her because she doesn't know the hobby like me, you, and people listening to the show. She's like, man, that's pretty deep stuff, man. And it really hits home to even see her reaction, that she's sort of surprised that what we do is sort of, having that sort of effect on someone. And it's important to know, this is the week after when this airs, it will be the week after Mental Health Week. Choose your words carefully. What you say can affect. So, we're talking about affecting someone positively, where they tell you that. It can also work in reverse. We see enough people, I'm not going to name names, on social media that are just negative and cut other people down. And that's their opinion. It's America. You can freedom of speech, and I believe that. But with that comes a caveat, right? That what you say could impact someone negatively. What if, what if you say something really terrible, really negative about someone? Maybe it's half truth. Maybe it's not true at all. They, are sort of on that, rocky ledge, and what you say might be the negative impact that causes them to maybe go off that ledge. Let's just put it that way. And I don't know. I don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? Even if had any sort of enjoyment out of being that guy. I don't want to be that guy. I want to have as a former coach and as a dad, first off and foremost, I want to have as much of a positive impact on someone as I can. And, I'm going to talk about things maybe we don't like in the hobby, or decisions or rules or policies or and things like that. But I try never to make it a personal thing. Right. And when you make it personal, you got to be careful, because what you say could have such a negative effect and affect someone even past the hobby, And I'm not going to be that guy. And if you are that guy or woman, and maybe that light bulb finally goes on, it's not too late to be a better person. It's never too late to be a positive influence, to change. And, I'll leave it at that. And, you never know what, when you're a content creator, you never know what part of the show someone might be listening to and what they take from it. And it's important to know, to be consistent, to know that, I've always said, I know you're the same way. My DMs are open. Private messages are open. Here's my email. My cell phone number is on the Sports Card Nation website. That is a real. That is not one of them community phone numbers like the map. That is my personal cell phone number. I put it out there, and I don't care. Someone else might say, "Man, I wouldn't give out my cell phone number like that." Well, that's you, not me. And I've always said, whether you have a question about the hobby, you have a dilemma, or something in life, I'm not a pastor or anything like that. The closest I'll come is a coach, and but I have an ear, and I have 48 years of experience as a human, as a dad, as a person of faith. So if someone has something, and maybe I can give some words of encouragement or a different angle on things, my door is always open. Your door, I know, is always open, Brad. I think one of the reasons we get along so well is that common thread in its own right, besides liking to talk as well. And, I think it's important. I don't care how many downloads one show has or doesn't have. It doesn't matter, because even if you have 100 and you could be affecting 100 people in a positive manner. And that's more than most people can say that don't do anything to that level. And it's important. It's important.
For a second. I mean, we had an incident very early in my content creation days where something negative, very, very harsh, was said about me, and it was public, and it was out there, and my daughter saw it, and it hurt. It hurt bad. And you and I had like a long conversation about it. And I really had to, I took it to Jesus and to God, and really examined what I was doing. And had I stopped because of one person's remark, then I wouldn't get the ability to affect people's lives today that I do, by people saying and coming to me, "You've inspired me. You've inspired me." Had I taken that and let that hurt me and stop. So my point to that is that really affected me to that. So what one person said publicly had that dramatic of effect on me. And think of all the lives that I've been able to have. So choose your words carefully. I'm not saying don't be you. I'm not saying you can't have your opinion. I'm not saying that there's not people that you're not gonna get along with. I'm not saying that there's people that you're gonna rub the wrong way. I've rubbed wrong with the Hobby Hotline hosts before. I've done things that I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Why did I say that? That was such a jerk of me. And you man up. You man up and you admit you're wrong and apologize. And you hug it out and give people big.
And a lot of it. And I remember the situation. We won't have to go into details, but I remember. What I told you is like a lot of that stuff comes from places of jealousy. You've sort of won. I'm a little different. I'm a little thicker skinned. Maybe it's the New York City kid. I know it's the old cliche, the mean streets, but I'm a little thicker skinned, and I'm sort of like if someone's taking those kind of shots, like I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandfather always used to instill me, like if someone's bad talking you, 70% of the time it's coming from a place of jealousy. You're probably doing something right. Someone's envious of where you are, and turn the other cheek. And, I can go in the whole Jackie Robinson thing. I learned a lot. He's one of my idols, and, let it go. It comes from a bad place. That person saying those bad things is in a bad place. I actually tend to, 80% of the time actually feel bad for that person. There's not enough going on in their life that's what they resort to do. And I feel bad for them. I say to myself, and I'll pray for them and say, hey, God, maybe if you can change some things in their life, maybe give them a more positive outlook on things, and have a positive effect. And hopefully that's the case. And you got to keep going. You got to do you, boo, and you got to hobby your way.
Yes.
You knew I was going to work that in there at some point, but and it's a good note to honestly kind of close on is whatever you have a passion for, do it in a positive manner, do it with gusto, and people will see that. People, who really are open-minded and see people for who they really are will sort that out, the true stuff out, and that's who you should really worry about, and let the other chips fall where they may. Hey, let's hear from another one of our great sponsors, Iron Sports Cards, for your grading submission needs, and now carrying wax and brakes.
Iron Sports Cards is your #1 source for all your PSA and other grading submissions. Their elite status improves turnaround times. Heck, they even provide the card savers. Their chat rooms provide updates on all your submissions. They also offer wax options and single cards to cover all the bases. Check them out on Facebook at Iron Sports Cards Group, or on the web at ironsportscards.com, or even give them a call at 1-877-IRON-PSA. Rob's got you covered.
Sports Card Nation is back with Brad Bethune. Brad, as I always do with every guest, give out where people can find you, your morning show, all your content, just you in general, where they can find Texas Card Dude.
Well, you can find myself first in Texas. I'm just kidding. Twitter is my #1 where I'm on all the time, unless it's date night. And then at date night, Mrs. Texas Card Dude says leave the phone there. But Twitter is at TX Card Dude, so at TX Card Dude. And then I do a lot on Facebook. I'm part of Letter Rip, and I'm part of that community. So it's Letter Rip the series is the Facebook group, and then I have Act Texas Card Dude Facebook as well. And then I'm on Hobby Hotline as much as my wife will tolerate, and I'm on my morning show, Card Time with Texas Card Dude. I'm on there every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday morning about 8 o'clock-ish till I get tired or I run out of topics.
I will say this too, man. You are better looking than Al Roker.
I appreciate that. That. It could be worse. It could be the two Utes, the two Utes.
All right, go ahead. Sorry about that. I had to work that in there too.
Man, I didn't know you were bringing jokes. The next thing I know, I'm going to start playing Newman.
Yeah, I'm bringing those on the plane with me as well. So just be prepared. As long as I can get them on my carry-on bag, they're coming with me.
What's funny is I've listened to your podcast so much I can actually start quoting your podcast as it comes on, and I'm like, Oh, you need to stop listening for a little while.
They have that effect on people.
Yeah, but I mean, reach out. If you're going to be in Dallas, come shake a paw. Don't give me big old wet sloppy kisses, but at least shake a paw. At least I want to hear somebody yell out, "Newman!" My weekend's complete if somebody yells out Newman at the Dallas Card Show.
You know what I get a lot here in New York in person? If I had a nickel for every one of these that I'm about to do,
everybody grab a pencil, people.
Hello, Newman. If I got a nickel for every hello, Newman, I could be full time in the hobby too, because I've already be
there might be
a millionaire.
Bounty on that hello Newman by the time you get into Dallas.
So I don't think I've gotten a hello Newman in like a Texas draw though yet. So that might be a
far
first.
That go? It did a little hello Newman.
That will be a first. So, but Brad, thanks for coming on. I'll see you. Well, if you listen to the show, I've already saw you.
Yeah.
But, for real time, I'll see you here in actually less than a week now, 6 days,
right.
And it's gonna be fun, man. And I can't wait. And I know you'll probably be like, maybe Mrs. Texas Card do be like, finally, this guy left. Thank God, But so.
It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a fun. I'm giddy as a schoolgirl, and it's going to be because it's not just you. It's going to be all sorts of family and Drew, Val. I mean, there's just going to be a blast and a whole bunch of. Please watch Hobby Hotline. I'm on there. We're all going to be on there on Saturday. It's going to be a fun time, and we're all going to talk over each other. And
it'll probably be. Technically speaking, it won't probably be the greatest show ever done, but it will be probably the most interesting as well. And so it might be I'm not trying to be. It might be a train wreck. Train wrecks are sometimes worth watching. So
exactly,
it might fall into that category. So
I can't wait till somebody like runs over Drew in the middle of a sentence and just starts talking over him. It'll frustrate the crud.
Yeah, well, that'll be me. I've done it before, and I'll do it again. I don't think I've ever done it in person, so I'm going to add that to my belt buckle. So, all right, Brad. Thanks, man. I'll see you very soon. Or if at the time of this recording. Hello, Brad.
Hello, Newman.
All right, a good note to end on. We'll see everybody soon. All right, that's a wrap for episode 228. Want to thank my guest, Texas Card Dude, Brad Bethune, good friend. So good, I'm actually probably at his house or hanging out with him right now. He's been gracious enough to let me stay with him here while I'm in town in Dallas. And one of the beauties of the hobby, like the tagline of the show, right? The hobby is the people. There are some great people in the hobby, and Brad qualifies very easily for that designation. And hanging with him pretty much most of the weekend here, and appreciative that he's offered the hospitality. So, thank you, Brad. Even though I probably said it in person 25 times already. If you're listening and you're in the Texas area, or even if you're not you're headed to Texas, or you're going to the Dallas show, I, along with many other people, will be there partly today, Friday, and all day Saturday, and a little bit of the front part of Sunday. Come say hello, give you a fist bump or what have you, and love to meet as many people in person. I'm a people person, and like to chit chat with you. That's fine. Come say hello. We're recording Hobby Hotline live this Saturday from the Dallas Sports Card Show. So come check out all the fellas, or most of them, from that show
Uncle Rich Klein, Brad Bethune, Drew Herndon is making the trip there. Val Mars will be here, Brody the Kid. So probably about 80% of our Hobby Hotline crew will be in town to shoot the show. And come say hello to all of us. And going to have a fun time, and hope to meet some of you there. Shows are really starting to get in gear again. The National looks like it's going to be green lighted. Do all the safe precautions and that sort of thing. But get out there. There's always something about attending the show, talking with fellow hobbyists, having cards in hand rather than buying them online and hoping they come in the condition that those scans look like. There's something about the personalization of the hobby that a show gives you that'll always have a special place in my heart. Doing one as a dealer at the green age of 15, working them at the age of 13 and 14. So, shows always have a very special place in my heart, and so happy to be here in Texas. If you're listening to this show on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, and hope to see some of you there. And wherever you live, if you got shows starting up, get out there and attend them and keep the hobby going. And with that being said, we'll wrap it up. And thanks for everything. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on Sports Card Nation. Hey folks, John again. A little addendum at the end here. I'm getting old, so my mind apparently is fading. I kept referring to this episode as episode 228, added 100 on. It's 128, but I just wanted to come back on real quick and clarify that. So thanks for listening to episode 128, and we'll see you next week on episode 129.